So yeah, we're starting off the week pretty strong with Mars moving into Scorpio early morning on the 22nd. Then later in the day on the 22nd, the sun enters Libra, which is technically we are entering the start of autumn. Which is so beautiful. So Libra it's the start. Autumn will officially be here tomorrow. Officially. Okay. So sun enters Libra. Then on Tuesday, the 22nd, not 22nd, the 23rd, I can read numbers, the sun will be opposing Neptune. And I'm not sure if you guys remember last week, I said that Mercury's kind of paving the way for us right now, is like literally like kind of pushing the sort of is giving us a glimpse. So last week, the energy as far as communication was a little bit further ahead than our ego, right? Ah, thank you, Senna. I'm so glad you're here. Oh my gosh, so many lovely people. I'm so glad you're joining. If you want to see my screen, I'm going to be sharing my screen over on Twitch, which is linked in my bio. You know, so just if you're curious. So sun's going to be opposing Neptune on the 23rd. Then later in the evening, the sun's going to make a trine to Uranus and Pluto. It's going to be a grand air trine that we're having for a moment. And again, Mercury did the same thing last week. On Wednesday, the 24th, Mars is going to square Pluto. Yow. Not gonna lie, that's gonna be interesting. And basically that's kind of it as far as direct transits that are happening this week. So we're gonna yap about it. My teacher mode came out and I was almost gonna say, like, does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns? How's the eclipse treating everybody? It is it, guys. Like, I feel that like bursting through the cocoon kind of energy, but it's definitely like hesitation, right? A little bit having to get that momentum. Yeah, no, seriously, this eclipse season really was, I don't even know how to describe it. Words, right? Okay, I'm going to be sharing my screen over on Twitch, so if you want to see what I'm doing over there, you guys can jump over there. We'll jump over here for my Twitch people. We'll leave it like this. Have this here so you guys can see it. Definitely that kind of in the gloom. When I try, yeah, my username is this. Streamia, and if you're trying to access it, it's a lot easier to go to the link in my bio and scroll all the way to the bottom, and there's a button to access it, if that makes it easier. It's just nice. So if you guys ever catch my live stream recaps, oh no, kitty, my cat just spilled a bunch of water. Nice, that is definitely his style. That totally distracted me. Yeah, it's very interesting. This eclipse season, just like before we jump into these transits here, this eclipse season was very interesting because of the fact that when we started Virgo season, we had this new moon in Virgo at 0 degrees, and I wrote about it on my Substack, where it kind of, it was literally entirely different because the moon and the sun was squaring Uranus. So this Virgo season has been completely different. Yo, that's my best friend. Sup, buddy? Welcome. You know, the quality streams over on that purple app, if you catch my drift. But I also know the TikTok scroll is addicting. You know? We out here. So now that, so just a heads up, just little astrology housekeeping. This sort of feeling that we have with this solar eclipse that is happening today, and you guys are gonna have to forgive me, my words, like I couldn't even film the solar eclipse video. Words have been really sticky for me lately. So that's just gonna be happening. But this solar eclipse is a new moon that's happening today, just an FYI. So we're still going to be feeling the effects of this solar eclipse until we reach this full moon in Aries that's happening in about 2 weeks. Just a little heads up. So there's still going to be some pieces unfolding for the next couple weeks. Yo, that was so sick. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for the cowboy hat. That was lit. All right, so I've got my screen shared over on Twitch, so if you guys want to check that out. So we're looking at the 22nd. Okay, no more distractions. I know, dude, you and I are the same. It's almost like we're made of the same DNA. We get distracted so easily. Okay, taking a peek here on the 22nd, you'll notice here on my screen, if you're hanging out with me on Twitch, we've got the sun had moved into Libra, so we can see that here, and also Mars is here hanging out 0 degrees Scorpio. So we're going to start talking about this Mars moving into Scorpio. Now there's different perspectives here because Mars is traditionally ruled by Scorpio, so it's actually at home here. If we're looking at more what's the other form of astrology I'm thinking of? My brain's breaking. If we're looking at it from like a evolutionary standpoint, Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio, but we are looking at it right now at a traditional lens. So Mars moving into Scorpio is kind of an interesting push, and we'll talk about this a little bit more in depth in a moment because of the fact that it's going to be making a square to Pluto. It technically is as soon as it's moving in, but I just want to talk about what this is about. So Mars is our drive, our will to get things done. It is that masculine energy to go outward, to push energy out, right? That's that Mars energy. And so Mars moving into Scorpio is deeply penetrative and cuts past all of the bullshit. Okay? So we're really going to be feeling this sort of like, it's ironic that I called my solar eclipse energy the final cut, because this feels like sort of a deepening of that energy that we had with this solar eclipse that's happening today. And some imagery that's coming to mind with this in general is sort of the cut of like an umbilical cord, like that separation from the mother a little bit. Like there's kind of this push of leaving the womb, leaving the cocoon, entering the world. There's this push energy. And this comes in tandem with the fact that the sun is also entering Libra at the same time. So I want to paint you guys a picture here, because Libra is the 7th sign. And when we look at the first 6 signs, they tend to be more personally driven. When we enter Leo and Virgo, we do feel that sort of connection deepening. But as soon as we hit Libra, it really is this deepening of connection of others, right? And so we have that feeling coming through as well. So with the sun entering Libra, it's shifting the direction entirely. We're shifting into this new phase and more about connection. And so how do I want to describe this? I'm going to focus more on Mars for a second. Because it's a very interesting edge that we're balancing on here, because Libra is definitely more balancing on that performative level, and Mars in Scorpio is sort of pushing our boundaries a little bit to get a little bit more uncomfortable, to cut past the bullshit. And this is cutting past our own bullshit as well. There's a more investigative energy here, which is going to be very interesting on the world stage. I'm curious to see how this is going to play out as far as like what's going on in our world. But on a personal level, there can be more of a cutting away of the shadows, of looking at the deeper aspects of us, of ourselves, and having more of a desire to go for things that are in true alignment with our desires. And there's a lot of desiring energy here. And if you know me, I tend to go a little bit deeper into how we can use this energy to benefit us and to work with the energy instead of letting it take its hold over us. And so Mars shifting into Scorpio is allowing us to have a truth detector ultimately and allow that to guide ourselves. This might be actually looking at things that are really limiting you too, and actually cutting away the bullshit, to put it blankly. Now, a couple hours later, the sun moves into Libra. And this is all happening tomorrow, the 22nd. So the sun moves into Libra. And so when the sun enters a new sign, in pop astrology, we call it like a new season. But ironically, it is literally the start of autumn. Autumn equinox is happening here as soon as the sun enters Libra. So we're starting an entirely new, we're starting the descent technically into the underworld. We're starting to actually take a look at the harvest, like just the energy in general of moving into Libra season. And thank you guys for liking the live. When you do that, it pushes this out to other people who might enjoy this content. And feel free to ask questions. I know I'm just yapping here, but it seems like everybody's just locked in. Have to take a pause. My brain is a little fried from this eclipse. The sun, yeah, I'm locked in. Hell yeah, Ray. I'm glad. I love talking about this stuff, and if you can't catch all of it, it's gonna be re-uploaded to YouTube just so you guys like the live to push through interdimensional TikTok pages. Let's go, push it out. Which is kind of like the energy. It feels like this interesting like birth energy that's happening, which is kind of like a little bit of a flip-flop energy because we're entering autumn. So it's kind of like, I love that you actually said interdimensional, Josh, because it's kind of like that energy of like, it's a weird, it's kind of like, what channel did I just switch to after we've exited this eclipse? And we have such like vast changes with our personal planets being the sun and, well, the sun is a luminary technically, but Mars shifting into Scorpio is such an interesting, like, deeply penetrative energy of like, oh, I can no longer bullshit myself anymore. And then the fact that the sun's entering Libra, it's kind of like the people around you are holding you accountable. When we bring Libra energy in, this brings in the mirror of another person. It is for sure harvest season. Yeah, it's like, it's very, very interesting. And I'm really enjoying like looking at this. And just a heads up for anybody who's just joining for the first time. Hi, I'm Izzy. I'm an evolutionary astrologer. If you're joining me on TikTok, this is where I yap about all different kinds of things, usually channeled messages. But my deepest passion is astrology. I have readings available if you're interested in getting your natal chart read by me. It's always one-on-one. I'm never going to do TikTok natal chart readings live because that is your soul that is being shared. So little housekeeping, don't share your natal charts on TikTok. I will come after you. Okay. Sorry, I just had to go mom mode on you guys a little bit there. So, your daughter's name's Izzy? Hell yeah. Solid name. Is it like just Izzy, or is it anything else like Elizabeth or Isabel? Cut the cord on. Name is Mid. Okay. All right. Isabel. Oh, that's cute. I love how you spell it too. All right, well, no virtual PDA. Literally, thank you, Brasilio. Thank you. Reading what you said, Josh. Feel that. I've cut old patterns that aren't aligned with myself. Big BS. Cuts this Josh. Yeah, for sure. No, it literally if you guys haven't purged anything from eclipse season yet, definitely I'm feeling the edge of it tomorrow with Mars moving into Scorpio, because it's sort of this energy of like, now we've given you this transformative period of time, these 2 weeks that we had between the eclipses. Now it's like, what the fuck are you gonna do with it? Okay, don't purging. Yes. I am also a Virgo rising, Alyssa. Yeah, exactly. We're going to Disney. Let's go. Again, I want to dive deeper into Libra season because it is such a beautiful energy. It really is this. It feels like a breath of fresh air, and similar as last week, Mercury's kind of been paving the way. If you're hanging out with me over on Twitch, you can see that Mercury's already at 7 degrees of Libra, which is wild. Yeah, if you guys didn't see my newsletters, it's shared through the link in my bio. Guys, my brain is mush. I'm gonna be so real. I didn't even want to do the live stream today, but we're doing it. We're doing it. Top tier newsletters. My #1 fan. Let's go. 12th house Virgo. Yes. Yes, right. I feel that. We just gotta be a good plan. Like, let's go. Thank you for the follow. Let's go. Okay, so my brain juices, guys. We gotta get them going. I am friggin' feeling it. Okay, so what is super, super interesting is as soon as the sun enters Libra, it's doing a lot happening. You have a job interview tomorrow and you need some guidance, be yourself. And ask the interviewer questions. As somebody who actually hired a whole team of people, I've had quite the job history. Ask the interviewer questions. How did you get here? What was your hardest thing to get in this job? What do you love about the job? As soon as you start interviewing the interviewer, it's fucking game over. Yeah, eating, hydrating, yes. And just trust yourself and be yourself, because you don't want to be hired at a job where you can't be yourself. So like I said, Libra season is actually starting off with a kick with the fact that Mars is moving into Scorpio. I feel like a broken record saying that, but also as soon as the sun is entering Libra, making a direct opposition to Neptune in Aries, and then making a trine to Pluto, and then a trine to Uranus. So we have this grand air trine happening. Now we got a little taste of this last week when Mercury moved into Libra, but now our ego is being pulled into this experience. So on the 23rd is when this transit comes to an exact position. And I always tell you guys this, when I'm talking about the dates of the transits, that's when they are at an exact degree, or I like to say exactitude, which means they are at the exact degree where they're aligned in whatever configuration it is. And to let you know a little bit more about astrology and how that moves and flows is similar to new and full moons. So you can feel the moon waxing into the full moon, and then it wanes. So you feel the energy building, and then you feel the energy subsiding. Right? So when I'm talking about these exact dates, that's when it's reaching the peak. So we'll feel this buildup, right? We'll be feeling it. Feel like I've gotten every job. Yes, same Josh. There's only one job that I ever applied for that I didn't get into, and I genuinely didn't have the skills for it. It was just a shot in the dark. I was like, let's try. So on the 23rd, what we're looking at here is the sun in Libra Neptune in Aries retrograde, they are creating an opposition. And then again, I'm drawing this all over. Yeah, I guess whatever. Yeah, sure, the rapture could happen any freaking day. The rapture is happening every day in my brain, not gonna lie. The ego being more involved. I love that question, Josh. So if you come over to Twitch, you can see what I'm talking about a little bit more in depth because I'm sharing my screen. But the ego, when I talk about the ego, I'm talking about the sun. The sun within astrology is our egoic expression. We all need egos. I know having an ego is like a weird term coined in spirituality. They're like, you have to let the ego go. If we don't have an ego, we can't be here, by the way. So there's a need for having a healthy ego. Yes. So I'm just talking about the like conscious expression of humanness. So the sun is creating an exact opposition to Neptune. Early morning, that's like 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, on the 23rd. And then we're going to be feeling that trine happening here. So the sun and Neptune opposition, what does that mean? The sun, again, is our egoic expression. The ego is something that fuels the elites and economy and capitalism, and we don't actually need it. If you don't have an ego, then how are you going to feel anything and be human? We came here to experience human emotions. Yeah. We came here to be humans. Yeah. I'm like, you might get some backlash here with people here. I saw someone speak on how letting go of the ego can be helpful for men, but not great for women. Yeah. I think there's different, it's just healthy expression of the ego, like what's going to be balanced for me versus balanced for another person. Yeah, I'm going to say like there's people that are very unhealthy in their ego versus healthy. There's always conscious versus unconscious expression. So talking about this opposition, the sun, again, is our egoic expression. It's the part of us that wants to be seen the most. And within Libra, this is within connections, right? We're wanting to feel this like observation from the other. You know, this is just what is outside of us. And then Neptune in Aries has been like dissolving our sense of self. And so there's this weird sort of polarity that's happening here. I've got a bee in here flying around. And so there is this kind of weird sort of dissolving energy where it's like allowing your old identity. We've been going through this. And if you've joined my live stream every Sunday, the past like 6 months, which some of you guys have, and I love you so much. And I deeply, deeply appreciate your support. This happens every Sunday, 4 p.m. PST. That's 5 p.m. Mountain, 6 p.m. Central, and 7 p.m. Eastern. Mark your calendars live. But with Neptune and Aries, it's been like this crazy sort of dissolving of our sort of primal ego a little bit. It's been like this weird it's interesting. I'm seeing like an embryo a little bit. Like it's sort of like this new part of ourself that hasn't quite yet taken form, but we feel that it's there, and it has to do with the dissolving of self. Yeah, Dylan. I hate the dissolving of self. Thank you for the follow, Josh. Welcome to Twitch. It's better over here, guys. The camera quality, way better. The screen share, way better. I've been streaming on Twitch for years. So I just like this platform a lot better. So Jim, I'm watching my mom's dogs and they're playing back here. Hi, Mia. Now, what's coming up here with the sort of dynamic with the sun opposing Neptune is it's kind of this push and pull of, is there a part of you that you're learning to let go of that is still aching to perform for the people around you? My Twitch username is this up here, Astremia. It's all linked in my bio, by the way, if you're looking for a quick way to jump to it. Yeah, right. It definitely is way more high quality. Funny how we're all going through it, but we pretend we're not as soon as we step out the door. Dude, I'd be crying at the frickin' grocery store. I almost... You thought... Oh, yeah. I mean... He can't actually be in my space because he's allergic to cats and it's cat haven. Like, I can literally pick up cat hair that's been just on my desk. So... Is he outside? No. He's not outside. He's actually camping. But I try to show my authentic self and it can be considered bad. That means you just haven't found the right people that will accept that. She left me. Stop it. The thing that I've learned is, people pleasing, and that is a very Libra quality, is people pleasing, because Libra likes to be liked, and that is okay. But people pleasing is a form of manipulation, because you're manipulating people to like you by pretending to be what they want you to be, and then there's this sort of feeling of like, oh no, they don't actually really like me. And then when you start being yourself, they're like, wait, who are you? So, people pleasing, yeah. Libra rising and Mars retrograde. Yeah, okay. It's good. Show my authentic self, but I can't, even if it can be considered bad. I think especially, I'm curious what you mean by bad, Ray Bunny, because I think especially in our society, the way it's built, like, especially if you identify as a woman, like speaking your mind and speaking your voice, it can kind of have like hit or miss sort of energy. I'm in the boat nowadays of stop sugarcoating shit. We don't need to hold people's hands through everything. We've done way too much of that, of like giving everybody a fucking trophy for like participating. I'm done sugarcoating stuff. And that's why my account here is called 8th House Mercury. My Mercury is in the 8th house. I've always been blunt. That's my nature. I've done way too much like coddling, and I just can't. I mean, traits that people can be scared to show, but it's, well, that's where it's like, we can't control people's perceptions of things. Yeah. Mostly unconscious survival vibes for sure. So I know I've been hanging out talking about this Tuesday for a second. And I appreciate you guys liking the live. This definitely helps it push out to other people who might enjoy the content, sharing, liking, all the things. All that stuff is very, very helpful. Yeah, people will carry their own perception of you. We can only control our perception of ourselves. Yes, I love that, Kel. Say it louder for the people in the back. People get mad at me when I was young and blunt with the truth. We will not mask. Yeah, amen. I feel that, and I just got chills reading that, Josh. Same here. And I've just learned that I can only be around people that truly know me, which then that's a whole nother layer of like, you know, learning not to mask myself or hide myself. Ray Bunny said she got chills also when I read that, Josh. So it's definitely, we're all feeling that. No more masking, no more hiding bluntness. I think that's important here. And especially Mars moving into Scorpio. That's some blunt ass shit coming through. So this opposition here between the Sun and Neptune is really kind of this interesting back and forth. Hey, Jan. Oh, Bubba. He jumped off the deck. I love being a blunt bitch. Let's go. There's like, sorry, Jim barking totally threw me off for sure. Tinglet jump. No, Jim. Went out with one of my friends last night, hung out with one of my circles for the first time. Definitely left there feeling like I was understood, not feeling like I was understood completely. Yeah. And there's this level of like, something that I struggle with too is like, sometimes people just are not going to fully understand you. Hi. I'm live. I know. Oh my gosh. Just hanging I'm just talking to the wind out here. Brizzy, welcome. So yeah, the wind, you know, like Pocahontas. Trying to find your full soul family takes time, but you got to do the trial and error instead of isolate. Yeah, Ray Bunny, I'm feeling that. Is Tangled running around outside? Not running. So it's going to be interesting to see how this opposition plays out on a personal level. The thing that I'm really feeling with this opposition is it's really going to be almost like these parts of yourself that haven't completely fully formed yet with that Neptune and Aries retrograde that are being reflected by people outside of you, maybe just noticing small little things that other people have going on within them that are things that you're growing and evolving within yourself. Now, does he at least have an outside shelter? Sometimes, when I'm feeling kind. But now there's this whole other piece to the equation with the sun entering Libra here too, where it's creating this grand air trine that we have with Pluto retrograde and Uranus retrograde. Trying to think of words for what this is other than it's just going to be mentally stimulating this air trine. Sorry, my assistant's here. He gets a tarp when he's good, lol. Oh my god. Hi, assistant. Teja says hi, assistant. My assistant said hello. This grand air trine that we're having with the sun, Pluto. Bruh. Not the train.
Thank you.
My assistant said thank you for that. Welcome to those of you who are joining the live. I'm also live on Twitch. If you want to see the charts, we're looking at them here. Does coffee count as hydration? No. He said drink water now. Yeah. So when we think of a trine from the sun to Pluto, and then from the sun to Uranus, and then the fact that Pluto and Uranus are making a trine too, this is pretty powerful. I'm not gonna lie. There's like this really, really powerful sort of energy happening here because trines are positive energy flows. It's the same element that we have happening here. And Pluto trining the sun creates this sort of, it's almost, the feeling that I get is it's this new, there's a lot of thoughts happening in my head right now. So bear with me. Last week, like I said, Mercury was making the same transit. So we got a glimpse of this more in the mental realm and maybe through some small conversations. But now it's almost like we're settling into ourselves with this inner knowing, right? With the egoic expression, especially now that we're coming out of eclipse season. And so the sun's coming here with Pluto. It's giving this feeling of almost like being handed a new seed is kind of the energy that I'm getting. Yes, Mercury and the sun were conjunct last week in Virgo for a second. Actually, I think it was 2 weeks ago, if I'm recalling correctly. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. So there's this feeling of almost, there's a lot of new potential, and a lot of it's going to be on an internal level happening right now for the fact that Pluto's retrograde and Uranus is retrograde. And when planets are retrograde, it's more of an internal process. And so the sun right now is kind of giving us that illumination of potential energy, of understanding. It's kind of like I see like mental gears like turning into place. It's almost like new neural pathways are opening up here, and again, bringing in that Libra concept of the other, of another person, of it being reflected outside of you is really, really powerful here. So there's a lot of powerful potential within connections. And again, connections can be with friends, families, lovers, pets, you know, the other. Libra's kind of like the dream of reality, right? If you've ever read any of Don Miguel Ruiz's works, he talks about how life is just a dream, and the dream that you're dreaming is, you know, I don't know where I was going with that, but I think of it as a mirror. It's kind of the energy of smoke and mirrors that's happening here, and we're getting kind of like this moment to get clarity, to go forward with our journey, because there's been a lot of clarity. And if you watched my solar eclipse video on YouTube, which if you haven't watched that yet, it's on YouTube, but there, I couldn't even go deep into the solar eclipse because it was so deeply personal. And I'm actually curious, for those of you who are watching, like, what has come up, what feels like it's kind of unraveling and like ready to take form in a new way. I feel like my voice is changing in a way of how I articulate myself, just noticing how it's been dream, 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 shark boy, real. You quit your job? Let's go. Nice. I know some people that want to quit their jobs. Shout out to Shark Boy. Okay. Jumping forward to the 24th, and this is the last transit that I'm going to be talking about. We can see, if you're here on Twitch with me, we can see that Mars is making a square to Pluto. Oh, this is kind of some... You also quit your job too, Quinlan? Let's go. Okay. It was interesting lessons regarding self-worth, self-love, and releasing habits of self-abandonment. Nice. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I love that. Yeah, I know, Brizzy, you've been moving through some big pieces. There's some tension that's going to be happening with Mars and Pluto. Pluto's kind of like the higher octave of Mars a little bit more, is more of like the serious older brother than Mars. Mars tends to be a little bit more quick and irrational, where Pluto sort of has just, I mean, makes me just think of the death card, and it's just final, you know, sort of this final say. As well as having tests around communication boundaries, and while things are going my way. Yeah, been sick for 3 days, big clearing of the throat. Yeah, I've been noticing that. Same with months. Yeah. So with this square happening between Mars and Pluto, he uncomfortable. I'm not gonna lie. Squares always are tension energies. I kind of, the best way to describe this for you guys is, there's just, I think of it as like the tectonic plates, and it's gonna push some edges, right? Some edges are going to feel tension. And it's like, can it withstand this tension? So Mars is our drive, our energy, and it can feel frustrating yet inspiring. Like, it's kind of this, like, I have to move this energy. This is feeling very primal. And like, this energy needs to be expressed. I can see this being expressed very physically, whether that is through like working out, running, moving, making something, like creation energy too. And then the square brings transformation and intensity because it's Pluto, right? Pluto is in Aquarius, and Aquarius energy asks us to be radically ourselves, no matter what the cost. Ever since Pluto fully entered Aquarius last year in November, we've just been fully entering a new level of authenticity in the collective energy. And so Mars is kind of pushing the edges and saying, like, what else needs to fall away? What else needs to like crumble and be exposed. And the thing about Scorpio energy is it likes the depth. It likes the guts and the gore and to like really look at the darkness and the shadows. And so we're really getting that exposure to potential wounds, potential aches and pains. And Pluto's here is asking like, is any of this authentic anymore? Is this really you? And so there's a lot of, it kind of feels like coining the same thing that I called the solar eclipse, the final cut. It feels like we're allowing ourselves to really cut away these final things here. And I saw, Ray, you asked something about Lilith. What about Lilith being in Scorpio during this transit? I don't jump too deep into asteroids. Asteroids to me are sort of like little flavors of the energy. It's not going to feel significant until Mars is conjunct to Lilith when they come into conjunction. So it's not going to be significant. And if you're over on Twitch, you can see Lilith is at 23 degrees. And so we're not going to feel that. I kind of like to say that it's like sort of background music in like a car when you're having a conversation with somebody, like kind of sets a tone, but it's not really changing anything if you're having an in-depth conversation with somebody, if that makes sense. Hi. Yeah, I'm kind of, if you're new here, I'm going to share with you guys my favorite term, which is being like an emotional masochist. I like squares. I like oppositions. I like the sort of hard transits that come in astrology because they really push us to grow. If we didn't have tension, if we didn't have frustration, we would just stay the same. We would just stay in our comfy, cozy comfort zone and never change. And so this square between Mars and Pluto is really pushing us to take a look at, even Scorpio has this quality of addiction to it too. Where it's like you might be looking at addictions that don't serve you anymore. And this can be addictions to anything. I fucking love coffee. Am I going to give that up? Probably not, but who knows? I'll let you guys know next week if I do, but I doubt it. But there's this level of like looking at the things that we cling so tightly to. That's the thing about Scorpio. Scorpio looks to possess things, to own things as if it's theirs. And that is the thing that kind of gets it stuck. And there's this energy with Scorpio that's about regeneration and taking all the darkness and like I can transmute this. I can transmute everybody's darkness and pain and hardships but it's like with Mars moving into Scorpio, it's like, okay, but can you do that for you? And that's a weird aspect because Scorpio wants to do it for other people. And so it's like, but first, if you really want to have that deep connection that Scorpio truly longs for, which is truly like the deep, deep, like physical and soul merging, you have to detox yourself. Finally quit weed, nice, and smoking in general, nice. Seeing our addictions and making that change is so hard, dude. It is so hard. And it takes like radical, that's that Pluto energy that's coming up here, Pluto and Aquarius, that radical self-acceptance, like no matter what, like pushing, like allowing yourself to see the hard things and be like, yeah, this has to change. I'm really interested to like sit with this energy for myself and like really dive into it for myself. It's very important looking at the transits and knowing your own chart placements. Like if you don't know your chart by memory, it's time to memorize your chart. That takes a lot of work, by the way. But it's nice to know. So when people are talking about transits, you're like, oh yeah, I've got, say like you have Mars and Taurus at 12 degrees. So knowing that. I like the emotion lord concept from the Greatest Warrior cartoon. Bro has to learn to control his emotions / behaviors or his life becomes hell. Ooh, I'll have to watch that. I've never seen the Greatest Warrior cartoon, but that totally is a powerful way to talk about that because really like if it's kind of this thing that I've talked about before. I don't know if I've shared it on live stream, but it's our emotions, like we are responsible for our emotional reactions. And when we are engaging in mutual spaces with other people, we have to be aware of how we engage with the energy. If we come in with no emotional boundaries and just like walk in like we're a freaking tsunami, that's so unfair to like the space, especially if it's like a public space or like a social space. When it's your own space, do what you want. But if other people are interacting, like there's a level of, I call it emotional hygiene that we have to have. And this Mars in Scorpio is really going to bring that level of like, oh, there is a bee. Is it a bee? No, it's a fly. Okay. Phew. As a yeah. Yeah, I feel that. Feel that, Tasia. Yeah. Yeah, I get this eclipse really has just kind of been brutal. It's been tenderizing, but it's been like good because it's showing us my health has been shit. I needed to move. Yeah, I feel you with that, Ray. Gotta allow that to move through you. And especially like if health things are coming up, that your body's saying like slow down or pay attention or I'm processing more. Gonna take a look. I think that's it for the transits this week. It's going to be kind of like collecting all of this energy as I'm thinking about it. Just again, quick recap. On Monday the 22nd, Mars is moving into Scorpio. Later in the day on the 22nd, the Sun is going to enter Libra. On Tuesday the 23rd, the Sun is going to be opposing Neptune. And then later in the evening, the Sun is going to be trining Pluto and hi, Uranus. Another cat meowing at me. And then on the 24th, Mars is going to be squaring Pluto. So lots of moving parts. And ultimately, I feel like this is kind of like, especially right after this eclipse, all these parts and pieces moving. It's really like go time. Is like it's bringing in pieces and actual parts for us to apply the shifts that happen during this eclipse season. Like it's like here's all the things that you were in the cocoon with, right? We had a lot of just like being in this sort of like, okay, this stuff is going on in my life and there's so much and I'm sitting with it. And now this solar eclipse that's happening today is ending that period. And now it's like, okay, now what did you learn? Now go apply that energy. Go apply it.